week has proven helpful. This week was really about overviewing the framework we're going to take in this course. In essence, we take a rhetorical approach to the medium of speech with a special focus on linguistics. So to begin with, rhetoric is strategic communication. Good speakers use skills, experience, and judgment to analyze a situation and design an effective response. And the rhetorical canons can help us prepare that effective response. We have to understand the medium of speech. So we certainly want to be using writing, but we have to remain focused on the oral message. And that requires understanding how language works, knowing that listeners need cues to guide their interpretation. So I hope this has proven a helpful overview of what speech is. In the next module, we're going to start working on our key point speeches. Hi, my name's Matt McGarity, and I live in the city of Seattle in the state of Washington in the U.S. And I enrolled in this course because I've become very interested in what good public speaking looks like in different countries. So as a teacher and a researcher, I often speak to international audiences, and I talk about my research, or I'll run workshops, and I'm generally aware of what different cultures think about good presentations, but I really want to know more. So I think being able to watch and talk to other speakers in this course from around the world is really going to help me with that. Now, as for a speaker that I really like, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think he's a great speaker. I think he's very effective. Now, if you've never heard of him, he's an astrophysicist. He was the director of the Hayden Planetarium in New York. He's written a couple of books, and most recently, he was in the new version of the PBS television series Cosmos. So he's someone who does a lot of education, public education around astronomy. Now, I like him because he's a clear speaker and because he's a compelling speaker. I think he's really clear at explaining complex ideas. So I like astronomy, but I'm not very good at it. Matter of fact, the only course I ever dropped out of in college was astronomy. I tried really hard, but it was one of these, it was a tough class. You had to figure out sort of the weight and density of stars, and I was terrible at this. I would spend hours on the homework. I'd go in for help with the professor. I'd try. I gave everything, and I got C's and D's. So I was not very good at it. But Tyson's able to explain astronomical concepts in a way that's easy for me to understand. He uses very concrete examples so I can visualize what he's talking about. He uses good metaphors, and that makes sense to me. So he helps me understand astronomy, and that's no small task. But I also admire him because I think he's a really compelling speaker. So when you listen to him, he's so passionate about his subject. He performs his interest in the subject, and it's infectious, right? He just seems like he's having fun talking about these really cool ideas, and that kind of gets me jazzed up. And I like being able to talk about my research and teaching with such enthusiasm. So I think he's a good model for me in that regard. So I'm Matt McGarity in Seattle, Washington, and I'm excited for this course. So in this lecture, I want to talk a little bit about recording speech videos. So this is a speech course. Hope you know that by now. I hope you're not like watching this and you're like, this guy's the worst chemistry professor ever. But if you want feedback on your speeches, we need to see them. Now, maybe you're just watching the videos in this class and you're not participating in the assignments. That's fine. But if you want feedback or a certificate, you're going to need to submit a speech. And this is a speech course. I think we've covered that. It's not a video production course, though. So as you're filming your speech video, I'd focus more on the practical necessities. Is the video there? Can we hear you? Can we see you? At least enough to give you feedback. So let's begin by talking about equipment. So basically, anything that produces online video will work. So a digital camera is nice if you have it. A webcam works too, though. So does a phone. If you have the technical equipment to watch this video, you probably have the technical equipment to participate in this course. So, once you've got your equipment set, I would say focus on three key things. Make sure we can hear you, make sure we can see you, and think about the type of feedback you want. So first off, make sure we can hear you. So if the camera's far away, you're going to need to speak up. If you're in a room and maybe it's kind of echoey, or I've got a window over here, so I'm going to want to shut this, right? I've got buses that drive by, so I don't want those getting into the audio track. So the goal is just to make sure that we can hear you. I'd say one thing to keep in mind is before you submit that video, take a listen to it. We should be able to hear the words that you're saying without having to really crank up the volume. So make sure that we can hear you. Okay, beyond that, make sure that we can see you. So obviously, you're going to want to have some good lighting. We should be able to see you enough to provide feedback. So again, I've got this window here. So I wouldn't want to be, directly in front of the window. And so it's, really backlighting me so you can't see my face. I don't want to just be a silhouette doing this speech. So you should be thinking about how much that we can see you. You can also blur your face. So I had one guy, he had his kids take the course. They were very young kids, and he blurred their face for the videos that they submitted. And they were very good speakers for such young kids. So make sure we can hear you, make sure we can see you, and then finally, just know that what you record affects what you can get feedback on. So I want everyone to submit a video that they feel comfortable with. And this could simply be an audio track with no video at all, if you don't want to show your face. But that would greatly limit what an evaluator could provide feedback on. So think of this more as a sliding scale. On one far end of the spectrum, we have speakers who stand speaking with the camera far away. This is sort of the maximum setup. It allows us to evaluate what you say and how you move. Maybe closer to the middle of the road, to the middle of the scale, we have speakers who speak sitting with the camera up close. That's fine, but we can't really evaluate movement, but maybe we can look at some gesture. And for some people, that might be what's physically possible. That's totally fine. Then on the other end of the spectrum, we have speakers who only upload an audio recording. And this is an option too, but here we can only evaluate some of the oral qualities. And absent gesture and movement, the message at times can be a little bit more difficult to evaluate. So what you choose to submit dictates what others can provide feedback on. And you need to decide what's comfortable for you. So let me end with one last word of advice. Don't re-record your speech 1,000 times. The goal is never to be perfect. The goal isn't not to avoid saying ever. The goal is to be a good speaker, and that requires getting yourself out of jams. So if I get lost in a main point in front of an audience, I got to get myself back on track. I don't get to stop, erase that memory from everyone's mind. No, a dynamic speaker needs to be able to adapt and respond. Because ultimately, this is a class on puppetry. Should be, that'd be awesome. But no, that's not right. As a speech course, the videos are really just a means to an end. Practicing speech, getting feedback, participating in a global discussion of good speaking, that's what we're here to do.